of this year to file the California Voters First initiative, to place the interests of regular folks, voters, and communities ahead of the special interests of incumbents and their parties. In the last round of redistricting, we had 6 months of hearings, only to find out that the real decisions would get made behind closed doors, out of the earshot of the community, where we found out that incumbents, in order to protect themselves from potential challengers, cut communities up into 3, sometimes 4 pieces, all just to protect themselves from people who might be challenging them from the other party, sometimes even their own party. Our plan would change that. We proposed the California Voters First initiative that would have 3 basic elements. The first is to create a commission of independent and fair-minded commissioners, Californians from all parts of the state, 14 members who would represent all parts of our partisan, geographic, gender, and ethnic diversity. They would follow strict and clear criteria, and they would hold real hearings that were open and transparent, not the closed-door kinds that the legislature has. Through the last 3 years, there's been one person who's helped us to elevate redistricting reform in the public's eye. Earlier this year, he called on us to lift our government to a new level of post-partisanship and to help reform our government from the inside in order to make it more responsive to voters. I am so pleased to announce that he is here today to join us by endorsing the California Voters First initiative. Please join me in welcoming Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger. I wanted to be the first to present to you our newly minted t-shirt, the California Voters First.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I hope this is not worth more than $300. Otherwise I have to give it back. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Yeah. Well, thank you. I want to thank everyone for being here today. And I want to thank Kathy Fang, our Executive Director of California Common Cause. I want to thank Jeanine English, the State President of the AARP, and Janice Hira Hammer, the President of the League of Women Voters, and then Gary Dubin, Executive Director of the LA Chamber of Commerce. I want to thank all of them for being here today. And I want to thank Common Cause, the AARP, and the Los Angeles Chamber of Commerce, and the League of Women Voters for being champions of political reform and leading the way on that important issue of redistricting. I've been fighting for redistricting reform since I've come into office because people of California want to bring competition and centrist leadership back to the state of California. We have spent months and months negotiating this over the past several years, and our efforts to get this done in the legislature have come up short, but have never lost hope. That is why I'm so proud to stand here with this group and announce that I'm chairing the campaign of the California Voters First Act and the reform redistricting reform. This is really all about competition, which is something that I have believed in my whole life. It is in sports, in business, or in politics. We know that competition draws out the best in people's performance. And of course, it's also competition makes sure that we don't take anything for granted. The people of California are not served well by a system that is so gerrymandered that 99% of the incumbents get re-elected in the districts that they themselves drew. We need a system of truly competitive legislative districts, so when lawmakers go home, can be held accountable, and that the people get the results and issues that they really care about. If it is to create reliable and safe water in the future, or if it is healthcare reform, education reform, or rebuilding California, and so on. Right now, if you get nominated in the primary election, you're guaranteed victory. That is a system bound to produce stalemate and partisan divide. It is no wonder that the fastest growing party in California is declined to state. These are voters who judge issues by their merit. It's like sometimes a Republican idea and sometimes a Democratic idea. And they understand that things get done here in Sacramento when you compromise. When I was elected 4 years ago, I promised the people of California to end politics as usual. I said we must make the system more accountable and bring trust and transparency back to government. We need a system where voters choose the politicians rather than the politicians choosing the voters. This initiative is our best shot at fulfilling those promises and returning power to the people. With the Citizens Redistricting Commission, legislative districts will be drawn by politically diverse citizens and who reflect our state's population and are free of conflict of interest. It will be an open and fair process, transparent, accountable, and competitive, and it will comply with the Voting Rights Act. I have been fighting for this principle since I have taken office, and from now until November I will be traveling up and down the state, collecting signatures and do whatever is necessary in order to get this initiative passed. Let's put the people before the politicians and finally give Californians full representation which they deserve. So I want to say thank you very much to everyone for being here. And now I would like to bring up Janine English, who is the state chair of the AARP, to talk more about this initiative. Thank you very much.
Let me turn it back to Governor Schwarzenegger.
Thank you very much. If you have any questions, please feel free.
Be comprehensive reform, Governor, since lawmakers would still retain the right, as you know, to redraw district lines for members of Congress.
Well, this is the first big step. And I think that if we get these reforms done, we can always go the next step and then do also the congressional districts. But I think that this will be really huge. The last time I did this, as you remember, 2 years ago, people thought that I was too ambitious to do both at the same time. So this time we do one at a time, and I think with this group, with this very reputable group, I think that we can do it, and especially since it's a bipartisan, and we hope that the Speaker and the other legislative leaders all come in and be part of this. Yes.
To support term limit modification. Are you going to support Proposition 93 or are you going to oppose it?
Well, I cannot tell you this right now. I will make an announcement on that, but I can tell you one thing, that this was also always very extremely important, I think, to have redistricting, because that is true reform, and that, as we said earlier, we want to change from the politicians choosing the voters. We want the voters to pick the politicians. I think this is the important thing here, and we want to get the redistricting out of the politicians' hands, because up until now it was the politicians that drew their own district lines, and this will be a citizens committee, and I think it will be a huge change to put it back into the people's hands.
It's difficult to get something on the ballot. It takes several $1 million to get signatures and get it on the ballot. Are you committing your campaign team now to raise that money to get this on?
Well, as I said earlier, that it is extremely important that I will be traveling up and down the state, and I will be collecting signatures, and I will be doing everything possible in order to make this initiative pass.